Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome back. We welcome ourselves back because we've been traveling. Kastuba's back. He got a new computer because his computer died in Europe, and now we are ready to fly away. Float into the new week. Our teacher training started up here. I got Cindy Lunsford up here, got Bobby up here, got Steve Amari up here, got a whole crew up here.
Wow.
And yeah, life's really and you know what else we had up here? A tornado warning yesterday. I kid you not. Everybody's phone made that same emergency buzzer sound. Everybody's checking their phone. Tornado warning in your area. And it was like the most fascinating. I tell you, even the material world, even disastrous things are quite beautiful, right? The sky yesterday, Mara?
Yeah, it was pretty incredible.
It was incredible. And it was like, and we have all the kids here. You know, we have all the kids, devotee kids from Alachua visiting us.
Devotee kids from Alachua? What are you talking about?
We got 6 devotee kids from Alachua. I told you that yesterday. Teenage boys.
I think you did. Did you?
I thought I did.
Maybe.
Anyway, we got 6 teenage boys. We're all friends with Rocco. Having a big kirtan last night. And yeah, it was nice. And so I was ready
You just all came there to hang out because you got facility for them there.
We have facility for them. I think we're going to do a kids summer camp next year for Krishna kids next year.
Look at you.
I know. It's just too good. It's like these kids, and you know, I tell you, these kids, they're so sweet. I was like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, we're making leaf boats and floating them down the creek. I was like, I wish I was doing that when I was 16 and 17. Leaf boats floating them down the creek. But there are a sweet bunch of guys. Krishna Teen Summer Camp. Anyway, that's next year. Thinking about these things. Yeah, but no tornado, just like massive thunderstorms. But the Krishna kids are taking.
So let me just get this straight, Raghunath, just about the tornado. You survived?
It was treacherous.
Okay.
It's touch and go for a while.
It was the touchdown was in Catskill, actually, right across the river.
Yeah, so there was a tornado that did touch down.
Okay. Did it cause any destruction?
We haven't been out yet, to be honest, but I heard that there's a lot. Bobby went home last night around 9 or 10 p.m. and she said there was a ton of trees down, and I don't have power at my house.
You don't have power?
Which is just over the river from Catskill and Hudson. So
okay, so it was for
I
real.
think there was some damage done.
Yeah, it's just not me fabricating stuff like usual.
And Raghu did survive the tornado.
We actually have a fallout shelter in the basement, and I was ready to start screaming in the fallout shelter.
So you do go in the basement for a tornado, you don't for an earthquake. I'm learning things.
Yeah.
Natural disasters.
Another thing going on is I see Mara's got like a different hair thing going on, like the bang thing is gone. Did it take me a long time to notice that, or is that kind of new?
They're just getting a little long, so I have to.
Okay, but it's sideways now. It wasn't.
Yeah.
I noticed these things, Mara.
He notices. Some men notice those things.
Yeah.
Here's some announcements for today. Ready?
Okay. There's an asana class for Patreon members with Josh Kane at 10:30 a.m. We have Bhakti recovery group meetings at 12:30 and 1 Eastern time today. And then this Sunday, the Bhakti Center's Urban Davy meeting is
Urban
at
Davy.
11 a.m. Yeah. It sounds really good, actually. It's
Good one.
yeah, the topic is a comedic retelling of the Gita.
Oh, I think that's that young lady from I think she's from the podcast, the Modern Yogi podcast, if I'm not mistaken.
Sangita Devi.
I think she's from that the Modern Yogi podcast.
It doesn't say so on the website, but yeah. Her name is
Does it say
Shama
that?
Sangita Devi. I don't know. It doesn't mention the podcast on
Maybe
the
you could
Bhakti
look
Center
into that.
website, but
It's a comic retelling.
Yeah, that's
Comedic retelling. How do you say the Bhagavad
it's a little
Gita?
irreverent.
How do you say it? It's just I love the book. It's just not the most funny book.
Well, you haven't heard the comic retelling.
Maybe I have. I'm a pretty comical guy.
Sometimes comedy, points out our own flaws, and so it's that.
Okay, now I'm interested.
Okay.
All right, let's move forward.
That's for ladies. You can't
It's
go
for
to that one.
ladies only.
Urban Davy.
Urban Davy. All right. Do we have a nugget today, Mr. Kostuba?
Sorry, I got a note. Raghunath, you see, I sent it to you earlier today. You came.
You know what?
in
I woke up very early. I just did my puja. I was waiting for Mara, who woke up a little later.
You gotta wake up a little bit earlier.
I gotta wake. Grab my phone. It's right on there.
I got.
Okay.
I got. You want me to read it?
Yeah, read it, please.
Okay. This is another Rick Rubin one coming again from his book. It's called The Creative Act. All right.
All right. It's Rick Rubin week.
Yeah, and this is from a chapter on practice. Okay, why we practice different things. Why you do something. Of course, the Yoga Sutras has a definition of practice, right? Because just like the Bhagavad Gita, it's almost the same quote. But the Bhagavad Gita and the Yoga Sutras, they both speak about practice and detachment. Krishna tells Arjuna, through practice and detachment, you can achieve this goal of yoga. Same thing is there in the Yoga Sutras. And then in the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali will define what practice is. And he says that it's when one does something with the right dedication, the right mood, the right devotion, and one does it without interruption. In other words, like with regulation, and particularly when one does it for a long time, then that focus, that effort, it becomes firmly rooted in the mind. Now we hear Rick Rubin. He's talking again. His motive, what he's presenting in this book, is how we can come in touch with creativity, which he's speaking of as something is kind of out there. That there's ideas, and there's whatever kind of artist you are, there's songs out there. If you're a writer, there's books out there, there's messages out there that are communicated through art. And he sees the role of the artist as trying to attune themselves with it. Again, trying to remove whatever is interfering with them connecting. And we were speaking yesterday about how I see parallels in the spiritual practice or in bhakti with this, right? Through practices, we can help remove that which is binding us, attaching us, preventing us from perceiving the wondrous spiritual truths that are surrounding us at every moment. So he's speaking about awareness here, that awareness of him, discovering art. We could say awareness of us connecting with Paramatma within the heart, us recognizing God within every atom of existence, etc. So here's what he says about it. Do you have it? Do you want to read it? Did you pull it up?
I got it now.
Okay, you got it?
Awareness needs constant refreshing.
Mm.
If it becomes a habit, even a good habit, it will need to be reinvented again and again, until one day you notice that you're always living in the practice of awareness at all times, in all places, living your life in a state of constant openness to receiving. Like that.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I started to dwell on that thing we were saying yesterday about
Okay.
how all our practices prepare us for chanting.
Create space,
Creates
mind.
yeah. Otherwise, sometimes people go into a kirtan, they get the benefit of the kirtan, but unless they have a life of humility, seeing ourselves as something part of something greater, not a overly inflated ego, not arrogant, not like looking to find fault with other people, then all this I mean, we have a very special thing here, Krishna Bhakti, this
Got
connection
a
with
special
God
thing
through,
going on
it's a
over here.
very, very special thing, but it will remain behind a very massive, like you ever go to one of those aquariums and there's just like the glass is just like a foot thick or something. It's like really thick. Like you just can't get in. And then
Have you tried?
Sometimes, yes, I've tried.
What do you do when you go to the aquarium?
Don't take me
Start
to an
pounding on the
aquarium.
glass.
I'll get in there. And sometimes not only is it a thick piece of glass, but sometimes that glass is painted black. So that we cannot get in. Even if people are sometimes bringing us to a temple, we cannot see the deities. Even if you see the deities, you cannot understand the deities. If you go, me and Bobby were telling our guests Mukunda and Madhurika about how we brought people to Vrindavan, and unless they get fully prepared to enter the holy place, they just don't get it, or it becomes overwhelming, or they have
very
to
good
leave
example.
they have to leave immediately. So
Yeah.
like now I work my pilgrimages where the entire trip from the minute we get together is a preparation for the last 2 days where you're actually in Vrindavan, because Vrindavan is so powerful like that. And
That's
other and you've
brilliant
seen,
way
right?
to
And
think
you've
about it,
seen
yeah.
people, I'm just going to go to Vrindavan, and then even like they just bug out. I can't describe it, but like bug out. I gotta go. This is weird. What? And they sort of just crack.
Very interesting, right? Because like if we go back some episodes before, we're talking about how in our lineage, there are great teachers who kind of map out the practice, how to understand it, how to practice it. So Rupa Goswami, in his super important text, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which Srila Prabhupada gave like a loose translation as the Nectar Devotion, he defines that, there's Krishna is present, God is present, and he lists 64 different ways, right? But then he says, but let's get like really focused. Let me give you 5 where somehow his presence is radiating very powerfully, and that if you're open to these, then they can be extremely and even quickly transformative, right? So he lists Krishna's names, like the mantras that we chant of Krishna's names, the Srimad Bhagavatam that we read every day, the within the form of that we meditate on, the forms of Krishna called the Archana, the Murtis that like you see in the temple, in association of other bhakti yogis. And then he says what you're mentioning now. There's this, maybe this should be the Sanskrit word for the day, the Dham, right? D-H-A-M or A-M-A, right? Dhamma.
Dham.
Yeah.
Comes from the word domicile.
Or the other way around.
Domicile comes from that. Dham.
Okay.
Yes.
And so that the holy places, which, again, in our tradition, the faith is that these aren't ordinary places. These are the spiritual realm existing within the material realm. But it's not that everybody's picking up on it or fully perceiving it or perceiving it fully.
Even when you're there.
Even when you're there, some people may be entirely out of touch with it. Some people may be, even without knowing how special it is, they may be actually perceiving it or connecting with it. And you and I have been going there and bringing people there for over 30 years, and we've seen and experienced and witnessed, a lot of amazing experiences there. And so I love the idea of what you're saying is like, okay, we're gonna, like you take a pilgrimage, we're gonna go to some really cool places. We're gonna take you to, places in Rajasthan. We're even going to take you to the Ganges River up in, Rishikesh. And then we're going to go to this this one Dom, which is like beyond all others, that's radiating directly spiritual energy that's like off the charts. Let's spend our entire time preparing for that moment. So let me ask you, like, how does someone prepare to be aware? Like here it's saying, right, awareness. How do you encourage the people to prepare themselves for that experience or that perception or that awareness?
Well, what I've done, because it's sort of herding cats when you're taking a bunch of Westerners to this holy place. It's herding like feral cats because we've all got like little, New York attitudes and
you say that with affection.
With affection, because I am one of those feral cats.
You're a cat
myself.
person. Okay.
I'm a cat person.
Yeah.
But so I dig right into the Shikshastakam, and that's where I got the 6 pillars of Bhakti from. We don't criticize, we're tolerant, we take no offense, we're quick to forgive, we see the good in others, and we remain grateful. And it literally, and this is like taken from Lord Chaitanya's instructions. And Lord Chaitanya, in the beginning, obviously, of the Shikshastakam, these are this is how to prepare yourself to chant the holy name. Otherwise, the holy name you can chant for forever. You won't have any effect. If I'm offensive to people on a regular basis, first of all, my life won't be fun, exciting. People will hate me. But actually, you won't get the highest thing as well. So Lord Chaitanya is such a powerful personality. He's given like these skeleton keys to enter these secret chambers.
Skeleton keys.
And
not ordinary keys, not modern day keys.
Not these modern day keys. If they're like these secret keys to enter these secret chambers. And in these secret chambers, all these holy places in India are very special places. They're called tirthas. Tirthas are places for cleansing the consciousness, bathing sins, so to speak, associating with sacred people, visiting temples, seeing temples of the gods and goddesses and Lord Vishnu, etc. But the Holy Dham is something different. The Holy Dham is a piece of the spiritual world in the material world. And that's what's different about it.
Okay.
And you can actually feel it. If you go in with that right consciousness and practicing those teachings of Chaitanya or the 6 pillars of Bhakti, then what's going to happen is it won't be an ordinary trip. And I can say for myself, I've always prepared myself before I go to Vrindavan. And for me, I've never, ever had an ordinary time there. It's always extraordinary. If it's
you are very tuned in person, Raghunath.
By the mercy of my teachers. I'm not a very in person. I'm a very obtuse person. I'm like an obtuse person covered in illusion. But I've had good teachers who've taught me how to prepare myself to go there.
Yeah. I don't think we can demand it or expect it, but we can hope for it, right?
Yeah.
We can hope for something deeper to happen when we get there. Some experience that makes us want more, really, that draws us towards that. Here, let's get back to the nugget. He says awareness needs constant refreshing. That's what we're talking about with practice, right? I'm not gonna hear Bhagavatam one day. I'm gonna hear Bhagavatam every day, right? It becomes a habit. Even if it becomes a habit, even a good habit, it will need to be reinvented again and again. And this is what it all goes to. This is where it all heads. Like I've always loved this because of those 5 you mentioned. One was the rituals around the deities in the temple, right? Which to a lot of people says, "Well, this is ridiculous, idol worship. It's just a stone like any other." No, you don't understand. Our whole thing, why we do that, is not because we're like
stone worshipers,
or like primitive people that feel like God will be upset if we don't do this and it's going to flood and things like that. It has more to do with, there's a science that has to do with the mind and has to do with understanding that there are different types of energy, material and spiritual. Let me as regularly reinforce bringing my consciousness in a particular direction through this ritool. And, in the 11th canto, when it speaks about this, it says the goal of this is, because you've mentioned sometimes on the show sometimes too, Raghunath, that sometimes people say, well, I don't need to go to the temple. I see God in nature, and or nature is my God and whatever. Or the problem is we don't always see that very effectively. We want to come to this consciousness where we're seeing that all the time. So in that section, it's in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, where it gives you the process of how to perform that ritual. It describes the goal of it is that you see God in everyone. You see God everywhere, wherever you go, not just in the temple, right? Not just in that particular form. So here he says, awareness needs constant refreshing. If it becomes a habit, even a good habit, it will need to be reinvented again and again. Keep going back to it, steady. Keep the practice. Keep doing it regularly. It'll become deeply ingrained. Then he says, until one day, you notice that you are always in the practice of awareness at all times, in all places, living your life in a state of constant openness to receiving. That's what Prabhupada calls Krishna consciousness. That's what he says that we should be 24 hours a day Krishna conscious, right? You could that we can take the mind, which is poorly perceiving spirit, and we can train it through beautiful practices. I love hearing Bhagavatam. I love doing kirtan. I love visiting the temple. I love visiting holy. These are beautiful practices, but through regularly, daily, reinventing it, coming back to it again and again, constantly refreshing, right? Constant spiritual refreshment is kind of what the practice is about, that we can begin to perceive that way all the time. And that's what we're going for. We want to. I find it interesting. I was thinking about this the other day, Raghunath. Check this out. Srila Prabhupada, he came to the West. I want to bring these ancient teachings and practices of bhakti to the outside world. They've never had it before. I think it can do good for society. I think it can do good for individuals. Let me risk it all, right? To try to please my guru, to try to please Krishna. Let me risk it all. Jump on a steamship, travel for over a month, arrive there with no money and just see what happens, see what I can do in service. So, after a year or so of just kind of struggling to get around, he got just a handful of, kind of beatniky kind of characters that had an interest in what he was into, right?
Beatniky type of characters.
Yeah, I mean, you had that kind of crew from Mott Street. They were like, into all that literature and stuff. You had people like Mukunda Maharaj, who was like, he was like a jazz guy.
Avant-garde jazz guy.
Yeah. So it wasn't the hippies at first. It was more like the beatniks that were into Prabhupada, like at the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
In New York. And so then, they said, hey, we can help you pay 1 month's rent, on the storefront, and then you're kind of on your own. And he just started going. And then he, in that summer of 1966, he kind of incorporated the institution, what he called, and what was kind of confusing to these
kids,
to these kids,
young men.
He called it the International Society. But they're like, well, what? There's like 5 of us here, we're like, we're all in one place. He called it the International Society. Now, he could have called it, he had this vision of how it would go international, and it did very quickly. He could have called it the International Society for Love of Krishna, because that's really the goal of it, right? Krishna Prema. He could have called it the International Society for Love of Krishna, but he called it the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, right? In other words, for developing awareness of God at every moment, right? Being aware, being conscious of God. He didn't push it to that esoteric.
We would have been members of ISLUC. ISLUC.
Okay.
ISLUC. Oh yeah, ISLUC. What's the state of ISLUC right now?
But I do find that interesting. In other words, what he was presenting most broadly wasn't, hey, we want you all to fall in love with Krishna, but he was saying, let's develop awareness how God is within every living being. If we do that, that changes society. If we do that, it changes the individual. So again, it's just showing Rick Rubin is catching on to something that's there. In all the yogic practices, that take something seriously, honor it, and then repeat it. Take that practice and repeat it regularly. You're not binding yourself, you're freeing yourself, you're opening yourself up to more and more and more through that.
And in Bhakti, this is the preparation to see Krishna. Just
Yeah.
I just got a spiritual download while you were speaking.
Oh yeah, that I sent that to you.
Hear
And
me on this.
I sent you the download, and I'm happy
you
that
prepared
you
me for the
received
higher
it.
beings to receive it.
I wasn't sure if you received it, but
Now,
you did.
listen, I'm about to give it to you. You didn't
No,
give me this
I mean, it goes around and around like that, Yes, I'm ready to receive. Send it.
I'm ready to receive the download I gave you. All right, here is my download. Check this out. You want to see the fish
Yes,
at the Boston Aquarium.
You
You
gotta.
show up in Boston. It's Monday. It's closed, and you can't get in.
I'm not sure if this is the one I sent you.
There's no fish.
What are you talking
You
about?
can't get in the door.
Oh, because it's
Not
locked.
open.
Okay.
At the building. No, I'm in the aquarium. You're not
You're
in the
inside.
aquarium. You're at the aquarium. You can't get inside.
Hold it. Is that all of it, or is there?
That's it.
Hold it. Say it again. I
This-
didn't hear it all.
You're at the aquarium, but you can't get in.
Okay.
So you're not now. So even though you're there, right? You're in the Dham, but you're not in the Dham. Do you get it? You're at the temple, but you don't see Krishna. Like, you're a gentleman. You wear a nice dhoti. Your dhoti is always straight. That's one thing about Kaustubha. It's always very ironed. I don't even know how
You,
he
you
gets it ironed.
exaggerate. You exaggerate, Rogan.
I
You
do
always-
not.
you do.
Even when we were trekking through Mayapur with no facility to clean our clothes, and I look like a homeless man, an unhomed man, you look like you had pressed and ironed your dhoti every day.
Maybe just in comparison to, like maybe you were just like maybe just next
I
to
was
you.
like, I was a feral cat on.
Okay, I was a little wrinkly and all that, but it seemed.
But anyway, Kaustubha, as well dressed as he is, when that
Don't get in the
taxi pulls into the Dham, he's
Get down on
thinking,
that dirt.
the dust of this place is worshipable. I worship the dust of this place. I worship the dust because this is where Krishna and Balaram walk around. This is where the cowherds walk around. And it's this Leela where he's not manifest in his actual form, but he's here. Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. And I can understand that. And I hit the deck and he rolls in the dust, and his nice, clean, ironed, white dhoti is a mess. He walks into that hotel wherever he's staying. He's got dust on his forehead.
You got a big
looks
clump of
disheveled.
dust on your forehead.
Clump sticks to your sweaty forehead, right?
Yeah.
And why do you do that? Because this is the skeleton key, Baba. This is the skeleton key to get into the aquarium. Right?
Skeleton key of deeper awareness.
Deeper awareness. So we understand there's ways to go to the Dham, and people go all the time. Sometimes people say, I'm going to India, Raghunath. What do you recommend? And I always say, I recommend you go with me. That's what I recommend.
I'll help you.
Well, because I mean, sometimes they're lucky and they bump into the right people at the right time, and it helps it. Sometimes I know people go, I'm never going back to this place again,
Right.
and that breaks my heart because this greatest treasure, they've had like the Hope Diamond in their hand, and they just throw it back in the ocean after finding a jewel, and they throw it back. That's yeah.
There's something interesting on the chat board here, Raghunath. I just thought it's worth. We're getting into the subject. I think it's worth delving into.
Yeah.
So this is from Jim Wood, and he's saying that he was at a temple. I'm not going to mention.
By the way, Jim Wood is the #1 writer on the message board. He has
Wow.
made that status now.
Okay.
He's moved through the ranks, passed out Yaso, and now he's become #1.
Okay. So there's a lot here. We can unpack this. There's a bit here. We could talk about. Well, let's get into it. He says that he was disciplined by the pujari, and pujari means that the temple priest on the altar, the one that's performing the rituals that the ones in the temple are part of through witnessing it, right? So he says, I got disciplined by this pujari. What for? For stretching before the altar, right? Stretching in front of the deities, just kind of probably yawning a little bit when he stretch, like
No yawning in front of the deities.
Okay,
Hits him in the head with a stick.
Now he says after the arti was completed, he came out and kind of let him have it for stretching. And he's saying, I wasn't aware that there's like anything
Surya
wrong with
Namaskar?
stretching. Huh?
What was he doing? Like Surya Namaskar?
He was probably just tired, and he just I don't think he was I get the impression not like he was like doing
Doing a
like some
workout.
fitness
Okay.
thing. No, that you just stretch stretch like that, like you do kind of almost involuntarily with sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And then so he says that he kind of barked back at the priest. I wasn't aware there's anything wrong with this. Tell me why.
There
Why
you go.
can't it? What was wrong with this? Why was it wrong? And then he said, "Read the books."
Read the
Okay.
books. Bad
Okay.
answer.
Yeah, okay.
Pujari.
So I mean, the Pujari is probably a wonderful person too. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to. But
Read
here's
the books.
but this is kind of bringing light to or let's say focusing light on this whole idea of what is this temple experience all about. Now he's the Pujari is correct, like in other words, it's mentioned, I believe it's mentioned there in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that you shouldn't yawn in front of the deities, right?
Missed that one, Jim Wood. Missed that one.
And but
Nectar
why
devotion.
the idea is that because it's a way of cultivating reverence, right? Like in other words, if you were
But Stu was giving a class, and I'm going,
yeah, it's like it makes me feel like you don't really consider me very important, even if it's involuntary. It's a bit of a demonstration of maybe lack of interest or lack of focus, and so these kind of regulations are there. But again, they're meaningless if you don't understand what the point is. If the Pujari could have come out and said, not even gotten upset with the person, but informed him, hey, just want to share something with you,
right.
Like when we come, if you want to receive the most out of this experience, then, great teachers in our lineage have shared different ideas about, how we approach. And one of them is like, you be careful. Like, I'm just not being casual. And that may be demonstrated by yawning, stretching, that you really, it gets to something I think we mentioned again from Rick Rubin yesterday, but he said or maybe we didn't mention, but I highlighted it. He said that when you get some experience of creativity, like it kind of like opens up to you, he talks about how that moment, don't take it casually, like really honor that, if you want to receive more,
Sure.
bring your awareness to that with a sense of gratitude,
eagerness,
yeah, and
excitement,
more will come.
reverence. Sometimes I get called, and you get called too. To travel, go to Texas, go to LA, or go to Germany to give a yoga class to a teacher training. That's one thing me and Kostuba do on a regular basis. We get called to give philosophy sections of teacher trainings, and somehow the yoga community has turned into almost like the massage community, the massage and wellness community. So
a little
it's like
hippie-ish, maybe
a little
too.
hippie. You're like, I'm giving some class on on the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, the Yoga Sutras, etc. And you've got one guy just like flat on his back with eye pillows on, with like a lavender eye pillow on. And then I got another guy who's sitting up and with someone giving him a shoulder massage, and they're making like a choo-choo train of somebody giving them a shoulder massage and someone giving them I was like, what the hell is going on here? How am I inspired to speak when you guys are having like body work session going on? And so we've always been trained, like if there's a teacher there, you give the teacher a raised seat or a cushion. You give the teacher a glass of water. You sit up straight, lean forward as if you're eager. And some of you might be tired. That's understandable. If you're tired, instead of doing these big yawns, you go to the back of the room and you stand up. That means I'm tired, but I'm eager to hear.
Yeah, that communicates that.
And what that does is it starts to milk the speaker to give information. I'm very eager to hear. And our entire philosophy is based on hearing and questioning. If we're in yoga nidra, how much are you going to hear? And how much does a speaker want to speak?
Right.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Speakers engaged. I tell you, it's great news. Because I just, when Prajumna was here, I always have so much questions. Prajumna Prabhu was here, and he's a wealth of information. We talked about him.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to be with him and like go for a walk, talk to him more. And in that process of inquiring, he kept on telling me stuff. And we kept on going back and forth, and we developed such a relationship. And that's the relationship between senior and junior.
Sounds like that was a skeleton key for you to get into that person.
Skeleton key. Whenever you're around a person who's like spiritually senior to you, your position is inquiry. Their position is filling your cup.
Right.
And so I just saw him, and I was like, this is going to be the relationship while he's kind of in our home.
Respect and kindness, right? You're coming forward with respect, and he's coming forward with kindness. Like, let me share what I have with you. You're like saying, I respect you for what you have. That's expressed through the etiquettes, through your words, through your postures, through your offerings. And he's like, oh, look at this person is like showing me. So let me offer them what I have. Right. Let me offer them
that's the mood of a good student. You inquire submissively. Right. And what happens is you get your cup filled, and the teacher gets excited. And I got a phone call right after the podcast yesterday. He didn't hear the podcast. Okay. But I just said, we just got off the podcast and we were just appreciating you. He's like, you were? Oh, I'd like to come back up there. I'd like to, He goes, after these Q&A days, I got inspired to get more classes. I said, well, yes, we can get you on our Sage Engage and when we're going to, not our Sage Engage, but our when we go to our online platform and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And our people would love to hear from you.
Sage Academy.
That's yes. And that's going to be our relationship is we inquire and we get our cup filled, and it excites the speaker, and it excites. And that's another key to get in this place. That's how do we start talking about that?
Well, because we were talking about the etiquette in front of the
etiquette in front of the deity.
Now a bit has been clarified. It's mentioned that Jim Wood, he was stretching his hamstrings, so he's kind of he was doing a so
doing a little funky yoga practice. He was doing like Nataraj asana or something in front of the deities.
So I appreciate a pujari that comes out and says, "Hey, let me share something with you about," because we didn't grow up in the culture, we didn't learn these kind of things by going to temples in India, so let me share this with you. But if I can, but it doesn't mean a lot if I can't share the reason and the purpose behind it. And I think you illustrated that nicely right now, Raghunath.
You ever go to Nathdwar? Mara, did you ever get hit by those pujaris in Nathdwar? They don't come out and talk to you. They just get a little towel and hit you in the head with it. They just like a gentle whip in the head with a towel.
Sometimes we need a gentle whip in the head.
It's gentle. It's gentle. And they're sort of like back.
Yeah.
Take it as pure mercy, Jim Wood.
Take it as mercy. Yeah, that's the other thing, right? So like maybe I don't want to comment on the pujari. Maybe it was a little harsh. Maybe he was in a mood. Maybe he just, who knows?
This is going in another direction here. Keep going. I know where you're going, and I'm going to jump on your wagon.
Okay.
Go.
Who knows? Basically, you just downloaded this to me. I picked it up. I'm offering it back to you right now, Raghunath. But
okay.
Who okay. Yes. So who knows where if this person is just always bitter and rude to people, or if he was going through a lot that day and didn't have time, or and I'm not saying Jim did this, but even it's possible that the receiver misinterpreted his mood or something like that, or misquoted what he actually said. But here's the point. He received an instruction. He brought it up now, and hopefully he's getting a helpful, satisfying answer. And it began with this comment, even if it was done in a way that was apparently rude or just whatever, just too like religious orthodoxy, kind of like cold, right. Dogmatic way. It was done in a very dogmatic way.
Yeah.
Still, it can, if you, rather than saying what a jerk, one says, I wonder why he told me that, and you search it out, then it can become a valuable gift that helps, that it can become your skeleton key. Jim's saying it wasn't rude. So, okay, maybe a bit dogmatic. I mean, when I ask a question and someone just says, "Well, read the books," maybe
Read the books.
Maybe he said it.
That's what we should do on Q&A
maybe
day.
he said, "Read
I'm
the
struggling
books."
with this problem. My daughter's going through this thing and she feels very depressed. What should I do? Read the books. That's what you should do.
Read the book.
Read the
I mean,
books.
even that's a great instruction. You know?
It's a good. Well, here's what I want to say.
Okay.
So because Jim Wood had a good attitude, which goes a long way in Bhakti Yoga.
After barking back a little bit,
it's very easy to jump to that third pillar and be like, or to break the principle of the third pillar, which is, I'm offended. Who does he think? Does he think I'm some idiot?
Right.
How am I supposed to know this stuff? This stuff's totally foreign. You come up to me, you just flippantly say, "Go read the books." Who does this guy think he is? Why doesn't he read the books of how to treat a guest? Right? That's the wrong attitude.
Okay, right.
So because Jim Wood's got a humble attitude, he just goes in there. Yeah, okay. What's
you
the
always
lesson
gain?
Here?
You
always gain with the good attitude.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you know what? I mean, and I know that there's been times that we've been chastised by teachers for things we've done wrong, for things we've screwed up, for things we've completely dropped the ball on, and the ball crashed to 1,000 pieces.
And at other times,
there's been other times where
even though you did nothing wrong
at all, and our teachers have just ripped into us for no apparent good reason. Like Jim Wood, like what the heck, big deal. It's at those times that you just take it.
Okay, trigger warning, whatever.
Warning.
Red alert. It's not this. You're not opening up for abuse. You're not saying if someone abuses you, just be abused and so on. That's not. No, I don't believe.
But
it.
sometimes I'm chastised. There's the
I like your
story
point.
about the me at Govardhan Hill story.
Oh?
Well, you know what? It's a good. It's the best story ever. I was at Govardhan Hill.
Okay.
And there was a
best story ever. I'm ready.
Best story ever. I would go over down hill.
Yeah.
And I've already got chastised like 5 times. I was a brahmachari. And there's like 15 of us on a bus. And there was one sannyasi who's not a sannyasi anymore. I think he was going through a rough time, being a sannyasi. And
maybe no reason. We
he was like a swami that it just got overwhelming for him, but he was like still a swami. So I had my back to the window and the window was open, and he's sitting right across from me with another swami and a bunch of students in the back. And we're going down the road, and at different places of Braj, the area of
broader Vrindavan area
of Vrindavan, they celebrate Holi. That's the throwing of colors.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes they throw it in colored water. They take a cup of water and throw a cup of blue water on
Holi,
and they laugh about it. And in India, you could like literally go on a bus and throw a bucket of water on people and go Holi, and they're like, everyone's like, hooray, that was so nice. In America, we're like, you're gonna throw colored water on my shirt, I'm gonna kick your butt.
That's right. But sue you.
The weird thing is, or sue you, right? And the weird thing is, it ends at different times in different places of Braj.
So
like sometimes it ends at this time, or a day before, a day later.
You think you're safe.
We are approaching in the distance. You can see as our bus is driving down the road, these kids with a big bucket and a measuring cup whipping. Every time a car comes by, throwing like a bucket of red water on somebody.
How old were they?
Any car that comes by. And so the swami gets up.
Hold it. I'm trying to get more detail. I want the full picture. How old were the kids?
17, just kids. And they're just throwing colored water on cars that go by. Imagine if you're driving your car down the road and there's just kids with colored water. Your car goes by, they throw some blue water on your car. So the swami stands up and he points like, 100 yards away. And he goes, "They're still celebrating Holi here. Close the window immediately." And I was like, and
just
so
to you specifically, or to the whole bus?
I'm laying against an open window.
Okay. Big casual.
A big, very casually laying. And so he yells at me.
At you directly. Okay.
He yells at me directly, like I'm responsible for this. So I turn and close the window.
Okay.
But by the time I turn to close the window, the bus is already passing those guys.
Were you slow or were you quick to respond?
I was immediate. He yelled at me. I turned. I was like a brahmachari. I was like a student. I went to touch that window.
And you went for it.
And instead of throwing a cup of water, they threw the whole damn bucket of red water through the window. They just launched it. And the water, I kid you not, this whole thing happened in slow motion. Yeah. You just see red water flying through the air, through the window, missing everyone except the Swami standing up and covering him totally in red. I like to watch it go across my face, and it landed on him. And then he looks at me in front of everyone. It's very quite humiliating. And he just says, he called me a jackass.
Oh, that's not nice.
That's not nice. He said, "You jackass. That was the third time I told you to close the window."
You're like, you said it only once.
I said, you only said it once. I didn't say anything.
Okay.
I said,
but you're thinking that.
I was more in my humble days. I said, because I was thinking, well, you didn't tell me 3 times. You told me once. And I did it immediately.
All right.
And yes, but you know what I did? I ate it. I just ate the chastisement. I didn't get angry. I said, you know what? There's a lot of times in this world that I've done really stupid things and got away with it. Never been corrected, under the radar, completely sneaky. Why not just accept this chastisement for all those? And that was my move. I was like, I'm not going to get offended at this person.
Right.
And even though I did exactly what he told me to do, it wasn't, quote, fair. We walk around a lot with this concept of that wasn't fair. And therefore, I'm going to hold on to this, and I'm going to get this guy one this day. And the universe is going to get this guy. God's going to get this guy. Let that go. It's all fair. It's going to work out. It's going to work out for your benefit, getting to Krishna somehow. So it was. I was in good consciousness at Govardhan Hill. It wasn't, and I got chastised a few times that day. And I had a good. But if you have your right attitude, you prepared
yourself. I get the feeling.
I prepared myself for it. I was in very good consciousness. It doesn't mean everything great was happening. I was critiqued. I was chastised again and again, but I felt higher and connected.
Yeah. You know, I just went through one of those airport experiences, right? Where like people get annoyed left. You know, I had a long day of travel, you know, it was like, I think it was 23 hours of travel from a dock in Venice, you know, to an airport, to a bus, to another airport,
water taxis,
and then getting home from the airport in New York. And at every stage, you know, it's really nothing but like waiting in line, you know. It's just like wait in line for this, wait in line to get in line, you know, it's like it's kind of constant, you know. And it puts people under pressure, and you see people start to crack a little under that pressure. You see the annoyance that they experience, you know, you start to see it all around, and you feel it yourself. And as a yogi, we just have to kind of like learn to say, I can't control this, right? I voluntarily put myself in a position where this is how it works. I'm receiving tremendous benefit from this in the ability to travel where I want to in incredibly quick times. And so there's no point in getting upset or complaining. You live with it. And if you train your mind to think that way, then you're not cracking when you're in it. And I love what you're saying here is that we can learn lessons, you know, at every moment if we prepare our mind to be open for it. If we use that as a skeleton key to opening up to this awareness, just like Rick Rubin was saying, we can be kind of perceiving on a higher level all the time. We can be picking up lessons. We can be picking up inspiration. We can even be feeling the presence of God at every moment. But it's going to require conscious effort. It's going to require repeated effort. It's going to require sometimes someone telling us something we don't want to hear, you know, and trying to take in that message. You know, sometimes it's even just a little bit of a test, you know, like even like, in other words, let's say we're trying to demonstrate to Krishna, dear Krishna, I want to be humble. I want to be your humble devotee. I want to remove all sense of false prestige that's in my mind based on ridiculous ideas, and I want to be fully there for you. And then Krishna says, I appreciate your saying that. I'm wondering how true it is. And he creates circumstances by which you can demonstrate it, right? And some of those circumstances, it'll be like you're enduring something that's fair. Right. And then he may say, well, I wonder how you do when it's not fair.
Right? If I walk around and just still be humble, that's not fair.
Yeah.
I think we really have to get to this point where we just will not be resentful.
Yeah.
And we're going to accept even the things that appear not fair as Krishna's mercy for me to grow somehow. And maybe, like I said, my realization was, what can I take from this? Maybe should I be very, very aware when someone tells me to close the window? I don't think it was anything. I think it was, I've done stuff in my past life that I've got away with, and I'm just going to accept that here. That chastisement is going to go for all the nonsense I've done in the past.
Right. And again,
I thought you were going to give me a much more like, that was a great story, Raghu.
That was a great.
Immediately switched off and talked about your download, but whatever.
No, Raghunath, my whole point was how important what you just shared was. It was a great story, Raghunath. It was a great story.
I downloaded that story just for you.
I appreciate it. And even though you're criticizing me in an unfair way right now, I appreciate it. I was just going to say something, but I just totally forgot it.
Well,
anyway,
we didn't talk about the Bhagavatam, but this is all Bhagavatam stuff.
This is all Bhagavatam today.
Stuff. You want to hear the Bhagavatam? You got to prepare yourself, people.
All right. The point that I was going to share was this: that again, because we live in such a polarized society, it's important for us to mention. What do they call this at the end of the commercial, where you list all what do you call that, Mayor?
The warnings, the
side effects,
disclaimers,
potential
side effects. Yeah.
Just disclaimer. The disclaimer is what you're talking about, like tolerating something that's even unfair. You're not saying like, oh, let slavery be, or that's not what we're saying. Like we're not saying that injustice shouldn't be countered and so on, but we're just talking about developing a state of consciousness where you're imagine this, Raghunath. This is really important, right? I want to highlight just how fantastic your story was.
Oh, thank you.
Because when you're being falsely accused by this agitated Swami, in that moment, it was being witnessed by other people.
It was humiliating. Everyone's like, "Oh man,
what a jerk! Why didn't he do what the holy Swami asked him to do?" No,
not even if they felt like, "Oh, that was bad." Whatever it was like a public humiliation.
Dressing down, and so the need for prestige in a person would be like, I need to be vindicated right now, otherwise I'm being seen as a total loser over here. And so therefore you respond like, hey, you only told me once. Hey, I did the best I could. I immediately responded to what you said. Why are you unfairly saying this right now? That's you trying to, that's you with an external awareness. But when you say, everybody's looking at me like I'm a jerk, this person's treating me like I'm a jerk, I did everything that could be done, but I'm just going to let it in. In that moment, your awareness isn't focused on trying to change the external. Your awareness goes right to God in the heart, because you're like, Krishna, you know that I did my best, Krishna. And although everybody in the world is looking at me like I'm a total clown right now, I just bow my head to you and hope that you appreciate my endeavor to be your devotee. Right?
Thank you, Kostuba.
It was such an excellent story, because it's a way of bringing your awareness within rather than always.
I really just wanted you to say it was a funny story. That's all. But
it was very funny.
Thank you.
Okay. You would rather be seen as funny than as wise? Is that what you're telling me?
It's funny wise.
Okay.
Mara, any takeaways that include a skeleton key or an aquarium?
Don't allow Raghunath into the aquarium with any kind of hammer or anything that could break
in
glass.
A bathing suit.
Yeah.
All right. Chaitanya gave us skeleton keys for the secret chambers.
Ooh. Just like Madame Blavatsky's secret doctrines.
Right consciousness and practice allows you to enter the extraordinary.
Okay.
Awareness and habits need constant refreshing.
Constant refreshing.
Yep. Refresh.
A good attitude goes a long way in bhakti.
You know what? Yes, it does.
That's right.
Submissively inquire from your teachers to fill your cup.
Everybody read 434 from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 34. That's your shloka today.
Tadvidhi pranipatena. I bet little Karuna knows that one. Maybe go to her at the end.
All right. Prepare your mind to be open to learning lessons at every moment.
Prepare your mind.
Humility helps us see Krishna's mercy in the challenges.
Nice, nice.
Yes. You want to see the fish? It's gonna be something like that, right? Not that good. Something with fish.
Hold it. Karuna knows the shloka. Should we go there before the
Go
last
there
one?
first before the and.
Okay.
Karuna, unmute Karuna.
A little Karuna G. 9 years old.
9 years old. Ready? Almost 10.
She's going to be 10 soon. Amazing. Here's Karuna's mom. Okay. I asked to unmute. There we go. We're asking you to unmute. But you're staying muted. Where's Karuna?
Karuna.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Hey, Karuna. How are you?
Karuna, you're on. She's back straight from Lebanon.
Text 1034, Karuna. Well done.
Very good. Very
Well
good.
done. That's 434. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, right? Render service unto them.
Inquire submissively.
Inquire submissively. They are the Tattvadarshis. They've seen the truth, so they can share with you, right? Thank you, Karuna. That was great.
Thank you, Karuna. You inspire us. Okay, now everybody's got to learn that first. If a 9-year-old can do it, you can too.
What if you're like 4?
4-year-olds can learn verses.
Okay.
Sometimes it's even easier.
It's
You know what I
true.
find? My memory was incredible when I was younger for learning shlokas. It's harder as I get older. It's a muscle you got to keep working. Me and Mara are studying Nandastikam now. We're memorizing that.
Why don't the 3 of us get together and learn some shlokas?
You can
Oh,
jump
you
on
wanna
our
do all the
shloka wagon.
astakams. I want to get back to the
Shloka
Gita.
wagon.
Yeah,
You
but
got
I
a
kind of
wagon
want to do
going.
Gita shlokas, especially maybe 1 or 2 Bhagavatam ones. Just
You
get
know,
back in the habit.
that's a little junior for us. We're
Yeah,
on
I
the more
know you're
esoteric
more
stuff.
advanced. I know
We're
you're more
more than
advanced.
just glorifying Krishna's form, his features, his outfits. When do you come to Vrindavan with me? Leave your
don't know
Vaidhi
if-
Bhakti,
I
leave your
don't know if
Vaidhi
I'm
Bhakti,
qualified.
join us here at Super Soul Farm.
I don't know if
We're
I'm
Dance
qualified.
with Krishna at midnight.
Oh, Krishna. Okay, and
And Miss Ma.
And brings us back. Just worship the dust of the dam.
oh,
Yeah. You want the skeleton key to get in? You worship the dust from the Dom. Thanks everybody for joining us. All our Zoomers and all their. Don't go to beer yoga. Beer yoga, goat yoga. You want to understand Krishna? There's ways to understand Krishna. Uh-oh. What happened? Music
What
ends?
happened? You were rolling there,
I
Raghunath.
was on a roll there. It was really going well.
What happened to the
There we
music?
go.
There we go. There are ways to understand Krishna.
There's ways to understand Krishna, and it's not through beer yoga, goat yoga, partner acro yoga. It's through bhakti yoga. You want to understand Krishna? It's bhakti yoga. You understand beer. You can you have a refined palate for beer if you do beer yoga. You can understand goats if you do goat yoga. You can probably really understand the smell of a goat.
Yeah, that's important.
It is. Well, if you have a goat walking on your body, then you will understand the fur of a goat, the teeth of a
The
goat.
hoof, the cloven hoof.